Hi everybody, welcome to week 5 of my lesson plans. So this is going to be a bit of a change this week because we are finished with our first place value unit and now we're shifting gears into our addition and subtraction unit. This is probably the unit that's most unlike any of my other units, so I'll try my best to explain how I do that. So we're going to jump right into Math Workshop, then we'll go into Science, which will be a little different, then into reading. Okay, so before beginning my addition and subtraction unit, I give my students an addition pretest as well as a subtraction pretest. And this just allows me to know who needs to work on what. Because if we are all already good at a particular level, we're just going to skip over certain things and move ahead because I really want to spend as little a time in this unit as possible. I was really fortunate last year to not have to work with any groups on additions. We just were able to go straight into subtraction. But I'll begin the year again with this, and then I will meet with students in small groups. So for example, if the bulk of my class already has, let's say 4-digit minus 4-digit, and only have 2 or 3 students needing to work on 3-digit minus 3-digit, I'll have my students who already have that skill working on other things while I pull back the students who need extra help. Now, my math workshop lessons are all centered around my little Arithmepark. These are not traditional math workshop lessons. The reason I created them differently is because I really wanted to be able to spend all of my time working with small groups. I feel like I just get a lot better results when I'm with a small group for addition and subtraction. So I suggest doing one of two things, either working on the Arithmepark or having students work on the Arithmepark independently with their partner, or to implement math workstations more than just your traditional or my 2 days a week. That's what I would do. Now in the Arithmepark, it's full packed of problem-solving activities that are very, very challenging. Now, I did create a 3rd grade version, so if you need to differentiate for students, there will be an alternative with smaller numbers, because some of these numbers, as you can see, are pretty high. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna print little packets for my students, and they can work through these independently. And then as my students are working on these, because they are fun, they are engaging, they're much more interesting than a traditional worksheet. As my students are working through these, that's when I will be working with the students in the small group. And ideally, by the end of this week, my goal is for everybody to be able to add up to 6-digit plus 6-digit numbers. And not only am I doing this now, but I'll be working on addition in my number talks. So I'm kind of hitting it 2 different ways. This will be more traditional algorithm, and then my number talk will be the more conceptual addition. But this is what we'll do in Math Workshop all week. So this is the last week for studying ecosystems. I'm going to end the week with kind of a STEM project where students are able to build their own ecosystem. Now, I will give my students a lot of flexibility in how they build it, but if you would rather just create it more like a class demonstration, I've also given clear directions on how to do that. You just cut the top off a Coke bottle and obviously clean it, peel the label off, and you fill it with gravel, like aquarium gravel, and then some water. You get your fish, the same temperature, room fish's water temperature, the same, and you can put the fish in the water. And then after you do that, if you'll put a coffee filter in the lid, you can actually put a plant in the coffee filter on the top. Now, definitely don't want to forget to poke holes in the side. I cannot guarantee the length of your fish's life. That was met with some disappointment in my class this year, but that being said, this is a really fun activity and a good way to extend this into some STEM learning. Now, we will be taking an ecosystems assessment this week. So to review for ecosystems, we will do Quizlet one day. I just did a search for ecosystem that had the terms I wanted to review, so I did not even create my own. I always go to Quizlet Live. That's just by far mine and my students' favorite game to play. There's an overview that if you're not familiar with it, he can explain it better than I can, but it's effortless to set up. There's no special materials. It's just wonderful. And then we'll also do a ecosystem review on Kahoot. You know, you can just look through the assessments, pick one you like, or if you want to create your own, that's fine. But that's what we'll do, just kind of an in-class review. And then I'll give my ecosystem assessment on Friday. Okay, so in reading this week, we're going to be talking about questions to ask during reading, and then we'll get into answering questions while we read. You can see an example of the anchor chart I'll make with my students. I will use that rather than the following printable. So this first one's just on asking questions while we read. What things could we ask? And then I begin to talk about question-answer relationships, and I refer to these terms throughout the entire school year. You know, we begin, I'm sorry this is flipped, with right there questions. These are the easy ones, the explicit questions. Almost every assignment I give all year long, if it's a right there question, I make my students underline where they found it. You know, we have the think and search questions where the answers are in the text, but students are going to have to look in the text and put the answer together. And then there's questions where it's the author and you. These are questions where they're not going to be able to find it in the text, not exactly in the text. This is where we're going to be drawing inferences. And then, of course, we have on my own questions, and we're going to work on that all week long. This week we're primarily going to work on answering in the text, these explicit questions. And since this is due to the nature of this assignment, I have included the passage rather than a traditional mentor text. I tried to include one science and one social studies, and we're going to just practice citing our text evidence. We'll practice finding it in the passage and as well as restating the question when we answer it. So I've included all the passages you may need. And then on the day 20, this is when we'll do our think and search. And I feel like these are a lot more challenging. But once again, I did include the reading passage for you. And then next week we'll begin the more challenging types of questions.